With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
From the office to a first date, there's a lot of pressure to wear the right clothes for every situation. But clothes don't make the man. With Mack Weldon, you can build a wardrobe that looks polished in any setting and tells the world that you stay you wherever you go. They combine timeless style with modern performance materials to keep you looking good and feeling comfortable all day, no matter what's on today's agenda. Browse everything from shorts and polos to sweats and crews. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code MACK25.
Support American-made tariff-free clothing with American Giant. They aren't affected by tariffs because their clothing products never left the U.S. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.
Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators Today. Today we have a very special guest.
Ed Morales.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so very much for this time, Meosha. That's a beautiful, beautiful name, by the way. We were just talking about that before we started. So it does definitely fit your character for sure.
It's actually Japanese.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I'm not, Japanese. I have African American and also my dad's side Cuban blood. I have Afro-Cuban. So my dad.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
A lot of passion there.
Definitely. So let's go from I love asking every guest. I love going to the beginning, and I always say the beginning, it always kind of charts where we're going in life. Our little habits that we pick up, things that we find that we're interested in kind of follow us as we're adults. Can you tell us a little bit about just a little bit about your childhood? What was that like? And how did you find your way into what you're doing right now?
Oh, it's a great question. So I grew up in Laredo, Texas.
Nice.
So I have a Hispanic background. So I had always loved music. And my dad was traveling from Monterrey, Mexico, and found a guitar and brought it over. And so at the time, I self-taught at the age of 16.
Wow.
How to play guitar. And then at the time there was a book with cassettes. And so I just learned it the way I learned, because I can't read music. I just learned by hearing the song, learning the chords, and just basically starting to craft the songs based on the ones that I remember and learned. And over time, I would start taking my guitars to parties, with friends, and they keep wanting to have me sing songs. But I realized I had a limited repertoire of music, so which spawned, well, I better write my own. So I started writing my own music. And really from the age of 16, really more so at the age of about 18 and 19, I started performing in schools.
Nice.
I've written and recorded a couple of songs, really rudimentary, and that kind of just spurred. But in my family, there are no musicians or songwriters. It just kind of, it's just something that came up. But I've always loved music.
Yeah.
Big fans of the music from the 60s and 70s, which were heavily influential. And that's what spurred the drive. And really it flourished more when I got into my college years.
So we're like when your family saw that, were they kind of super supportive of the journey of what the things that you were pursuing as far as music?
Well, it was funny that I think part of it was they just thought it was a really nice little hobby, but I think they enjoyed that I had a passion for it, and just had a knack, and so there was support to some degree of my certainly getting involved, but because it wasn't an area they understood,
Yeah.
it was hard to get any support from them. But they just thought it was a nice thing he did on the side to keep them busy, you know.
Right.
So
Oh, good, good. Sure.
yeah. And then I started playing around town in Laredo and other parts of Texas and started to make money playing
Yeah.
in little venues, and it became something more. And interesting enough, within a couple of years, we had started opening up for major acts that were touring into the city. And
Wow.
as a result of one of the shows that my band was playing, we actually got signed to a label out of Los Angeles. Yeah, one of those type of things you only see in movies.
Right.
And recorded an album, and got some regional recognition. And so, but there was something that was certainly I can't really even explain how that journey all took place, but it sort of kind of had its own momentum, if you
Yeah.
will.
That is
Of
like divine, right? Almost like it's like, how did it happen? I don't know. It's like you
Oh, I
only,
do believe that. Yeah, I think there's a spiritual thing that takes place, and God puts these things in your heart, and
yeah,
somehow there's ways, if you foster it, that it becomes a manifestation over
yeah,
time, and it presents itself in multiple facets. It's like you have these, like your name. I'm sure you talked about your name being very dynamic. That shows up in probably different parts of your life.
yeah,
Same thing with the way the Spirit kind of puts that in your heart.
yeah.
It shows in multiple ways.
It's so
So it's really
beautiful how
cool.
it works. It's
Yeah.
amazing how it unfolds. Um, so let's talk about your album. And first of all, I love the song title, Little Sugar.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. I played it and it was really fun. It was just like I had a good time. Like I was like, oh, like I actually kind of felt, I went back and I thought about like one of my first loves after when I was listening to it. And it
Yeah.
kind of brought back a little memory. And I was like, oh, that was just really sweet. What was like, tell me a little bit about like the process of creating that, like what inspired that? Um, and like why the title Little Sugar?
Well, thank you for the comment. I'm glad it had that effect on you. Interesting enough, so like inspiration, you probably know, happens in many different forms and fashions.
Yeah.
And since I like to cook, so I was watching the Food Network, and I was watching a very attractive female chef do a recipe. And as she was going through it, I said, "Wow, it sounds."
Lowe's knows how to help you save. This July 4th, get up to 40% off select Maytag laundry appliances. Plus, get an additional 10% off when you buy 2 or 3 select major appliances. And when you buy 4 or more, you'll save an additional 20%. Find the right appliances and features that fit your home's unique needs and style. Shop Maytag 4th of July deals at Lowe's. Valid through 7/9. See Lowe's.com for details. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Selection varies by location.
Ever get the feeling you're being watched online? It's data brokers. They collect your personal info, your browsing habits, where you live, and who you're related to, and then sell it to the highest bidder. Aura helps stop that. Aura automatically removes your personal info from data broker sites and keeps it off. It also monitors the dark web, protects your devices, alerts you to real-time threats, and more. Start your free trial at aura.com/listen. That's AURA.com/listen for your free trial.
So and I know we used this word suggested, but it was kind of like, well, that's not, what some of the terms that were being used. So I downloaded the recipe, and so I started playing around with the lyric, with the recipe, and made a lyric of this guy and his woman getting together over a glass of wine, coming over and making what was supposed to be a puff pastry, but there was this double window of love and stuff. So the little sugar, the opposite, has a double meaning.
Yeah.
Kiss, and then there's this, the actual physical, sugar on a recipe. So that became something fun. And then the way the music started to come together, it's very rudimentary R&B,
Yeah.
funk, soul, which this stuff that I talked about from the 70s and 80s kind of evoked. And so there was this fun play. So it's really, if you listen to the instrumentation, it's quite rudimentary. It's bass drums, guitar,
Yeah.
a little bit of percussion, and a saxophone, right? And then there's an associated video that's been developed for it that I used a gentleman out of Europe to create an AI generated video of the story, and he did a phenomenal job, and I'll share that with you after our call. But that was the inspiration. So I try to capture experiences, right, of life, and you find those experiences in so many different facets of things, and it's all you have to do is you pay attention, and then you grab them, and you
Yeah.
get a hold of them, and hopefully when you convey them to something that other people can relate to them. And that's really the purpose of what I try to accomplish with the music and songs I write.
I love that. And I was going to ask you, like, do you feel like nowadays, music world is it's completely different than it was, years ago? Do you feel like it's easier to reach people? Now we have AI, in the mix. And you almost can kind of do it yourself nowadays versus like back in the day, we had to have someone to manage you and all these facets or whatever.
Yeah, it's been easier, but there's also a little harder at the same time, because in the back in the day when you had to go out, there was only a limited amount of artists that had the wherewithal to be able to create their content, and then you had to go through the routes of actually shipping your music to cloud radio, because that was a big thing at the time. If you got into college radio stations early on, then you started to get the airplay. It was
Yeah.
very more manual and very you had to be really involved in the day-to-day engagement with the clients.
Yeah.
But of course the returns were better because you actually made more money on the residuals and the mechanical royalties and what have you. Nowadays, because it's so easy, which is great, I'm glad that a lot of people can participate.
Yeah.
The issue is that now you got to really kind of navigate yourself through all the content that's out there to kind of give yourself a little bit of a different voice in amongst multiple voices. So it's become a little bit more difficult. And then really the return is a little bit different. So you're a little bit where you used to be able to get a lot of return on the sale of mechanical royalties and the radio airplay. Streaming it's a different model altogether. So now you got to find different venues, and like film and TV or is like those are kind of where you still have a little bit of the old school
Yeah.
mechanical royalties taking place. So those are the kind of things I think you have to understand the model of the business.
Mhm.
And then yes, use the platforms that are provided to you, but then they're just different challenges nowadays than it used to be
For sure.
when I first started years and years ago.
Yeah. Do you feel like and speaking of music, because and film and all that, being I'm a filmmaker,
Mhm.
I now also entrepreneur, I do it all, right? I think you
Uh-huh.
have to kind of do it yourself nowadays to get like, you know what I mean? Like, because waiting by the phone, it doesn't really do
Right.
much.
No.
But I'm curious, do you feel like you know, music is in favor of the artist now getting ahead, like you don't really need a manager, you can all like almost do it yourself, or do you feel like it's good to have a manager, someone that can help push your stuff?
I think it's yeah, to start yourself off. I think you need to do it yourself, because then you start to learn all the different aspects of the things you need to get to the foundation. You start to realize there's certain things and then you find the experts who are in the field to
Yeah.
help you then elevate and escalate that or amplify that. That's where the challenge comes in, because after you get to a point of critical mass and a limitation of what you can do from that point on.
Mm,
So there is a point, I think, where there's a pivot point where you go from one to the next for sure.
nice. How involved are you in the process of like when it comes to creating your music? Are you when because I'm very much I'm someone I'm like in the editing room. I'm over here. I'm so like everywhere. Because I'm so like I just want to know what's gonna happen. I want to know, like, I'll be hands on. Are you like that with the producers, or do
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm involved because I mean, having done it as long as you have, and because we talked about the question you asked a question earlier right now, just about how involved should you be regarding a manager. You want to be involved at the onset, so you start to know all the nuances
Yeah,
of how songs are formed,
yeah,
what the performers are playing, how everything's structured, what the
right,
dynamics of everything that fit together, and then the kind of the whole process of building. Yeah, so I am very involved. Although what I do is then I defer to the experts.
yeah,
So I mean, although I may understand what kind of drum beat I want, I'm going to allow you want the drummer to then put their part in there as well. So
right,
there is, and I'm sure you do the same thing. I want to know the process. Sometimes I don't really want to know how things are made. I just want to know that the outcome is
right.
going
That it's
to
good.
go to the start. So I'm very involved. I got involved from the onset of the crafting of the song to the arrangement of the song to the what we were going to incorporate relative to the instrumentation to the production to the mixing, and then even to the mastering of that. So and involved in the artwork of the
Right,
design of the covers, and so yeah, I'm pretty involved in everything. But
love.
again, I defer to the expertise and the creativity and the craft and the spirit of the folks that I bring in. So I
Right.
think you probably say there are probably people you have connected with that know your voice, they're
Yes.
going to capture that, and then you pull those people again. And I think that's something you'll learn over time,
Yeah.
to know what your voice is, and then connect with other people that know what you're trying to say, and really
Exactly.
help bring that
Yeah.
to point.
They say it takes a village, and it's so true. You can't, I mean,
Yes.
you can try to do everything on your own, but it's like you're gonna be more like gonna kill yourself doing it. But yeah,
Indeed.
I have a fun question. I love asking this. It's no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if
Uh-huh.
you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
A respect.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, respect is it's that because there's another word I think that would, because prosperity,
Mm,
right, is another word, but most people think of that as financial. Prosperity is health,
right.
it's spiritual, and then once you have that, then the money becomes a side thing. And actually, there's those things about the law of attraction, right?
Yes.
When you're passionate about that and you treat people with respect, and you're very respectful in turn, there's something, like that law of attraction that brings everything else
Yeah.
first. And I think that's kind of, it's something I've learned over time, through wisdom. is that that's the key.
That's beautiful. That's a great answer. If you could be managed by any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, great question. Managed by any artist, living or dead.
Oh, that's a hard one. It's tough. It's so many
That's a good
ones,
one. No, I mean, because there's so many folks that I would love to be able to have, tagged along.
right?
Uh, I would say probably, if there was any one, it would obviously be, I think, Paul McCartney. I
Oh,
mean,
that's a
just,
great one. Oh,
yeah, I mean, just from an overall, just the crafting of the songs on the one end, the production, the nuance of how things were crafted. He's always maintained a level of a common man, but yet been, elevated to this business tycoon, really. And
yeah.
he understood the business, and so, but he never lost track of his roots. And I
Yeah.
think that would be something that, and the evolution that he's gone through over his course of life, and maintain a consistency. I think that's something that everyone looks to achieve. So he would be one I would definitely ride coattails if
Right?
I could.
Same. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they're getting a documentary, I believe, or something, or a movie or something about. I think he's getting a movie about them. But it's just his story.
Well, they re-released Let It Be just recently.
Did they?
Yeah, there was a movie made in the 70s that had been lost. Well, they hadn't just shown it, but I think it got released a couple of days ago on the 8th.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
they redid that they fixed, they obviously digitized and, enhanced the whole. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But
Yeah.
there's always a movie about somewhere about Paul McCartney or the Beatles. So,
It's
which I'm a huge, huge, huge fan. But
that's
he would be one I would love to be able to learn from.
I like that. It's a great answer. You'll be just fine.
Thank you.
You already are. I mean, come on. I mean, absolutely
Well,
amazing. You do.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah. So, as an artist, as a creative, I think sometimes to be inspired, to stay inspired, sometimes we have, some days you're not like on Rushmore. You're not like happy. You're not like always excited.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated and what keeps you going, pursuing this music, this crazy business that we're in?
Well, it's almost like you can't. It's in every life there's balance,
Yeah.
and it's professional and all these other things. I mean, I've got a career in IT as well. So, but without that, then I'm only one-sided, and you
Mm,
need to kind of balance one out. This is the other part of my of who I am as a person.
yeah.
And there was a time that I had stopped, and I found that I was not all who I was. Matter of fact, because of that, it helps other aspects of my life, either as a parent, as a spouse, as a as a friend, and even as a work. I use Yeah, what I found out is a lot of other people in IT are also musicians.
Mm,
And I don't know if you can see behind me. I don't know if you can see the bottoms of guitars, and
yeah.
usually they can see those guitars, and there's always a conversation that takes place. But I think it just to answer your question, I can't not. I know it's a double negative, but you just have to. And for me, that's just part of who I am as a spiritual being, if you will, and that's something that I think God put in my heart we talked about that question early on. It was something that was instilled. It certainly, I wasn't born into it with my family. I had no one else in my family, but somehow that was put in there. That's just manifested itself over time.
That's
And,
beautiful.
yeah.
I love that. What, like, because that's, because sometimes I wonder, like, this business can be so difficult. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I think about why I do what I do. And it's not for, I think a lot of people get into this business thinking like, oh, it's easy because, making a song, it's easy. I could just put some lyrics out and put it out. It's like when it's like longevity, that's what it's about. That's that, journey, you know. So I
Well, I think priorities change over time. When I was younger and I was doing it professionally, then I had a different vision. Right now, it's because I have to, and I've got a voice and things to say. I think there are other people within my age group
yeah,
that also are looking for someone that can say, look, this is where I'm at. I know we all grew up at the same time. We all kind of experienced life. This is where I'm in my part of life. How are things going with you? Can you connect here? So this is what, and most of the time, most of the folks that I connect with are those who are basically in that same vein. But even those who are even much younger than I, some people don't know, they just they hear the song it seems to resonate.
mm,
So I think over time things change.
yeah,
There's a certain point in time where you don't have delusions of grandeur.
right.
Then you got to pick, well, what's really the impact? Well, if you can make some sort of impact in someone's life, inspire them. Others, even with my age group, you never have to stop doing what you love to do.
Love
Just
that.
keep it going. Yeah, then do it. So I think probably someone like yourself as well. It's something it's part of who you are,
Mm.
and not to do it would be, just you'd be losing part of your heart and right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of the people who have done this and they have a passion for this, it's just part of it's part of who they are. It's like breathing.
Mm,
It's pretty much all my life. I don't know to what degree, but I know I'll be performing and playing music
I love
until my last breath. I can tell you that.
it.
That's my plan.
That's it. That's what it's about. I think when you know your purpose, right? There's nothing that or anything that happens or comes up is going to make you stop, right? Because that's your purpose in life.
And what I would suggest on top of that, don't let somebody else define your purpose for you
Mhm.
or what that purpose should be.
Right.
Sometimes the purpose is there's different ways of achieving that, and you just got to find what it means for you. I've had a number of people, yeah, that had you, and I'm sure you've had some people that are encouraging, and others that are, and I think they mean well to try to take you a different direction, but ultimately it's your life
Hmm.
and you've got to be able to answer to yourself, the person in the mirror. And as long as you did that, it doesn't matter what voices are around you. As long as the voice inside of you is kept true, then that's respect and that's prosperity, in my opinion.
That's so
But,
good. I love that. What a great answer. I have a lot of listeners that listen to the show and they always ask, they love when I ask this question because they're like, this helps me figure out what I need to do or the next direction of life.
mm-hmm,
Like what advice would you give to those that are trying to get in this music world?
mm-hmm.
That what would that look like? What would you tell them?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the music world, it's really, again, going back to whatever's inspiring you, you go back to the roots of those that inspired you.
Yeah.
Find out, and what I found helpful is reading biographies of the artists and people that you follow. Find out what their journey was, and not that you have to replicate it, but find out the composite. What were their inspirations for one thing, and then the other time is it's not just the creative part, but it's ideally you've got to understand that this is.
A
Yes,
business.
there's an artistic part of this, and it's always great to hone in the artistic aspects of your skill. But you also have to understand the biz. If you're looking to make this a career or make this a life, then you understand what are the opportunities and what are the limitations, and in learning the business side of things. I think a lot of times we focus on one or the other, and you lose the balance. So
Mm,
it's always advisable to take courses where you can and learn about how this industry works. And then networking is another part of it. It's about community, right? It's
Yep.
about who you know and the connections you make. Because I've made, I'm sure you have as well. You've
Yeah.
made contact with people over years that you still have now. You can call on the phone,
Yep.
and there's that connection.
Yep.
It's almost an unspoken connection, but you
Yes.
know, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the more powerful things that, as an artist and as a budding artist, is to have that network of people.
Mhm. It is. It's so important because you know, you never, you know, they say never burn bridges. It's so true because,
Oh,
you know, this industry is just very up and down. It just, you know, it's never like, woo, you know.
no, I tell my kids that there's a ABCs. Always be cool, because
Yeah.
no matter what industry you're in, even in IT, you run into the same people because they get in the circle, and you know it just got to always be cool. And this it goes back into just like you said, respect. You establish that early on, mutual respect, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's a concept in business now called servant leadership, right?
Mm,
In the old days, it was like manager, you led down, but this is servant. You know, how do you lift everybody up and all ships rise? And so if you, and I always tell people, even in my industry, I said, you know, someone's got to be the servant first.
right.
Right? And so if you can serve, actually, it empowers you.
Yeah.
Serving does not mean that you're lowering yourself. Serving means you're lifting others up, right? That's the concept. And so that's how I would suggest if people approach things. I mean, and when you do that, it's such a uplifting. And you know, I mean, in all honesty, some people may not you know they may take advantage of that, but that's okay. And in the scope and scale of things, the ones that really value it are the ones you want around you anyway, long term.
True. So true. Oh, it's such good advice. Such good advice. Do you have anything coming up? Are you working on anything that you like to share? Do you have any shows?
Well, yeah. So what's happening right now is that I'm putting together my band. I've been in the last couple of years because I've been last year or so. I was putting together the album, focusing on that production, and so you know after this incident we had a couple of years ago, you know, we weren't playing live music. So the band that I had, we just you know we disbanded. But I started focusing on the new album. I'm now with the release of this, I'm putting together a new group of folks that will be doing regional tours
Awesome.
and playing. And then I'm working on a new single with a duet with a young lady I lost, and that's a special one for me because I think she's good. You know, I'm saving that who it is because she's a fairly she's got notoriety and she's really cool. So it's the first duet I've ever done, and I'm looking forward to releasing that. But we're in the production stages of that, so that's what I'm working on right now.
That's
But I'm excited about this album. I'm excited about speaking with people like yourself and Meosha, and just being able to share the gift and the art and the camaraderie of creating
yeah.
as creators, right? So this is exciting for me.
Oh, yay. Ditto. It's really great to talk to you, meet you. It's just great. I love your story. Just and I really enjoyed talking to you. Where can people find you on social media to find, you know, to follow you and everything?
Well, I do have a website. It's edmorales.com, which people ask me, how did I get that? Well, a long time ago, because I was in IT, I purchased the domain back in the 90s. And so I've had
Wow.
it, you know, for decades now. But
Jeez.
it's edmorales.com. And then you can, and from there, you can find all the other links. But I'm on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, you know, I've got LinkedIn because I'm a professional. And then, you know, Spotify and all the other areas. But if you go to edmorales.com, everything that you need to see would be located there. And I would be glad. As a matter of fact, you can personally write me on that, ed@edmorales.com. I respond to pretty much everybody who sends me a note. And we'd love to hear from anybody out in the audience and collaborate and speak to, or at least even have a chat. So look forward to those opportunities. So I appreciate the platform and thank you for this time. You've been very, very gracious, and it's
Oh,
such an honor to meet you.
oh, you too. Same. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.